Okay guys, so now we are going to learn about doubles, longs and floats in Java. So let's just create a new project for this. We'll call it double long float. Leave all the default options. If any of this looks weird to you, please go back to the first tutorial and we will go over installation and things like that. We're going to create some sample code as well, so make sure that's ticked. Right, now we're going to get this window here. I'm just gonna, get rid of this here, create some space. I don't like my code all sort of clumped up like that. Right, so a double is sort of like, a large cup. It's used for very precise or, very large numbers that are decimals. So this is how we write a comment in Java as well, by the way. We do double slash and we can write whatever we want here. So I'm going to write some comments. So a double would be something like, pi, right? Because it's needs to be very precise for a very large, number or very small number, but a large amount of decimal places. So for example, we can represent pi with that, 3.14, blah, 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 blah. So let's look at how we write a double. Now, a double is obviously just a data type, similar to an integer, but it represents something with a large amount of decimals that is very precise. So we do this by typing double, all lowercase, space, and then the name for our variable. So we'll call this pi value. So we're going to create the pi value here. Now we'll go equals. And if we think back to high school, I think pi was something like 3.145 or something like that. 3.145. I'm probably wrong. I mean, correct me in the comments, guys. This is bad. I've actually forgotten high school maths. Now we'll do a semicolon at the end of that. Obviously, this is for demo purposes. It really doesn't matter whether we've got the value right or not. And we can actually just put many other values at the end of this. Actually, I think it might be 1, 5. And then maybe 9, something like that. Maybe that's correct. So, we've now got our pi value. Now we can create a long. So how do we create a long? Well, we just type long. And then we can, use a long for something else, right? So a long is like a large whole number. So let's put a comment of that here. So a long stores a large whole number. And obviously these comments can just be written in plain English. And they won't get, ran by the computer. So let's say the population of Earth is going to equal whatever it is. It's like 8 billion or something. I don't know. So we'll go. Well, I think it's actually something like 8 billion. Or maybe 7.8 billion. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then at the end of this long, we need a capital L at the end. Then a semicolon. So we've created a long here. Now, obviously, these are all sort of number values, but they're best to represent certain things, right? So double is good for, numbers with lots of decimal places, and then longs are good for just large whole numbers. And we also have floats, right? So a float is kind of best represented as, the price of coffee, for example. So let's write a comment here that says floats could be used for prices, right? And again, we write float, lowercase f, and the name of our variables can be anything. Let's say price of coffee. And then we go equals. And then let's say, God, the price of coffee now is a lot. Like if you go into Starbucks, it's going to be like at least $4.99 for a coffee, which is crazy. Probably even more. Comment down below what the price of coffee is in your country, because I'm just thinking about the UK, because that's where I'm from. So we can go like £4.99, and then we need to put an F, lowercase f, at the end of that, and then semicolon. So these are all obviously numbers, but we can represent different numbers using different types, and that is how they are best represented. So now let's just output all of these. So we can just do that as we were before. We go SOUT, system out print. We can go like the value of pi is, make sure to put the space here. We can go plus pi value, right? Then we can grab this line, we can copy that and paste it for the population. So the population of pi, population of Earth is, and then we want to replace this value with the population of Earth. So we can go population of Earth. We can press enter. It's got that right. So now we're referencing that value here. Hopefully this makes sense to you guys. And then finally, we'll write one more. So system.out.println the crazy price of coffee can I even spell today? Crazy price of coffee is, and then we'll add price of coffee at the end of that, and then make sure to whack our semicolon at the end of every line. Now, let's see how this runs. So, let's press run. Hopefully, we'll get these values here, which is all correct. And as you can see, we've defined those here. Now, obviously, we can do operations on these. We can, add, subtract, divide. But this comes with extra complications because now we're dealing with different types. So, for example, if we tried to, divide the price of coffee by the population of Earth, let's say, I don't know, we want it to be exact to the decimal point. So we'll try and use a double for that. Or we could say divided equals, and then let's try this. Let's try population of Earth, and then divide, which is the /, and then, I don't know, the price of coffee. As you can see, this is valid code, but let's just see what this outputs. Let's get rid of all of this, and then let's just print out the divided. Let's see what that outputs. Okay. Well, that is a bit weird because we have this E here. So obviously we want to be careful what type we cast this to, right? Because let's say if we cast this to a float, if we say, we want the divided to be a float, then what do we get? We get the same thing, I'm pretty sure. Let's just change that so we get this. And it's close, but it's not quite the same. Because we get different values here, right? They're all within close proximity, but we get different values here. So this is where sort of boxing comes in. Not boxing as in like fighting, we can box values into certain types. So for example, what if we wanted it to just give a whole number, right? We could go int divided is going to be this. But we can't do that because we need this to be a float at least, either a float or a double, something with decimal points, because this is not guaranteed to be a whole number. So we can't directly, denote this to an integer because the population of Earth divided by the price of coffee, it's going to be, realistically, it's going to be a, decimal number. Might not be, but it's pretty much always going to be. So we would assume that because it's a long and a double that we're not going to make an integer, so we can't do this. So there is the basics of floats, doubles, and longs. There's a lot more that I could go into, but this is just the basic fundamental level of how we can store them and use them and output them in Java. Now, in the next episode, we're going to go more deeply into what all of this is, this public static void main thing, and why it has to be like this and how this works. See you in the next one.